Hello again, this is Rizen Gen, coming back with another video, this time on the topic of community.
My name is Carlos.
I'm Sammy.
Welcome back, guys. I think it was a good video, the first one that we did.
Yeah, I think we hit the points, kept it short and sweet.
Yeah.
I'm glad, and we're back again with another topic this time.
Yeah. And if it's your first time, please subscribe, like, and comment, and help us share this message with everyone.
Greatly appreciated if you did that.
Yeah.
So,
all right. So today's topic is the importance of why we need community.
Yeah.
And when people hear that, what does that mean? Why do we need community? Does that mean just friends, or what do you hear what does it mean to you when you hear that word?
Community seems very unorganized, kind of just like, yeah, your friends, people that you hang out with. I feel like that's the main thing people think of when they hear community.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for me too, and that's a lot of people, when they hear the word community. But when I hear it, and we're talking about it in a Christian setting, as someone that believes in God, as a disciple, I think I was looking at the monitor. I'm sorry, guys. I'll look at this. But when you hear about community, it's the church.
Yeah,
the church, and the church isn't a building, but it's
right.
us.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why it's so important when we think of that, because a lot of people, when they hear gotta go to church, they think of a building,
location,
but it's because we, as different but important parts of each other's lives, and also what makes us function as a church, is we need each other.
Mm-hmm.
Can't function without each other.
Exactly. Like, we make up the whole body of the church. Each individual person has a purpose and a role within the whole body.
Yeah. Imagine you want to go on a run and one of your legs says, I want to sleep. And the other one says, sure, I'll go run. You need both.
It's going to be terrible. Yeah.
You need both. You could probably maybe figure it out, run with one leg, but you can't. You have to.
Even if you're missing a couple toes, your balance is off.
Yeah. Even those little things, that's why it's so important. I think, especially because we're young. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of people our age, they struggle with the importance of going to church. It's like, why do I have to go to church if I believe in God? What difference does it make if I just stay home, read my Bible? And they always say, read my Bible, but
they just say it, but it's
do
all...
they really? Because I fell into a trap once where I graduated college and I was working a lot. Mm-hmm. And thinking, I need to put my career first. I need to put, myself first. That's what I was thinking of. And I was kind of putting church second. If a job came, or I was tired
over
from
the weekend,
previous job, I would be like, you know what? I don't feel like going to church. And at first it was I didn't notice the difference, to be honest. I didn't notice a difference, but it was a gradual, small difference that you notice, that as soon as you're away from the church, you feel so alone. That's me. I felt like I was missing something, and it felt like there wasn't a day. If I truly say that I'm Christian, there isn't a day that I'm okay, I'm gonna just set an hour to two, just to, in reverence, to be God, especially because how He always rescued me and how He always protected me. How can I not have time and day to sacrifice, to give time to God?
Yeah, that's a huge point. You could stop going to church, stop going every Sunday, Wednesdays, whatever it may be. Disconnect for a while. You may not feel the difference because you've already have this momentum in life. Things kind of just stay the same, but little by little you start noticing the difference. And hindsight's always 20/20.
Yeah. And also, our age, there's so many distractions.
Oh, yeah. You can keep entertained.
Yeah, you can keep entertained so easily. And also, with the way church work right now, everyone live streams.
Yep.
So a lot of people... Whoops, sorry. It's because I had Chick-fil-A. A lot of people say, I could just watch it in the comfort of my bed, and my couch, and my PJs. Which,
podcast.
Yeah, exactly. But, I don't know. There's something special, I think, of going to church, because... You see people, you interact with them, they learn who you are, they learn, the person, and you build a relationship, which is something you can't do with just living at your home and just watching. It's like working at a job, but never going to the office. It worked for a little bit, but now we see a lot of people returning back to the office because you need
productivity.
You need
gone,
it. Yeah.
Work ethic gone.
Yeah.
Like, it's just.
Or even like when we hire someone new, how do we train them? And when someone becomes a Christian and they're just watching online, how do we train them?
No
where do I
training,
start? You know, where do I learn about God? You know, it's really hard, and it's just like it doesn't work long term. It might work for, let's say, if you're sick or an emergency,
temporary stuff,
or like how we just went through a hurricane in California and you can't go. You know, so,
one of those things. It wasn't. Yeah,
it wasn't a hurricane.
It was a sprinkle.
Yeah, there's definitely moments that, you know, of course, you know, but it's so important to go to church, and I can't call myself a Christian or say that I believe in God. It's like, let's say, as a family, I only go to my family for Christmas, for Thanksgiving, and Easter.
Yeah.
What would your family think of you?
Like, that's it. Just those little holidays, and every other time just ghosting the family. Yeah. Like, nah.
I'll FaceTime you.
And then never doing it.
Just once in a while, you know. And
some families do that, though.
Yeah, some families do that, you know. But, like, don't you, if you're far in the family, don't you have that longing in your heart that you want to be with them?
Yeah.
I want to hang out with them.
See what they're up to.
You know, can I just go hang out with you? Can I just go? And that's what church, that's how church should be. Of course, there's churches that don't, there's also churches that don't provide that, you know? So there's also that they're like, well, in my church, they don't have that community. They don't have like a group of people that I connect with. And that's also a responsibility of the church. But you need to find a church that provides that. It's super important, I think.
Yeah, and it's crazy because you go to a church and you see old people often, and you see like babies because the old people bring their grandchildren or their children. Yeah. But people our age, I don't know why. It's a huge struggle for us to go to church. And the main place that young Christians our age go to are like the hype churches, the
popular,
because we have, you know, a sense of FOMO. There's like influencers there. I want to go there too.
I think that's more your generation. Maybe me. I just don't care. but maybe you know, I think, yeah. Even my Diana, she used to go to those churches too, which they have nothing wrong. Like, we're not against them, but are you building a community? You know, are you building relationship with others? You know, because going to church but being like invisible and no one really notices you, you're not building. You know, you're not being discipled. Which, if you're a follower of Christ, that means you're a disciple. So you have to be somewhere that's challenging you, that's pushing you, not somewhere that just sounds good music, which is amazing.
Not just an experience.
Yeah. You need something that's pushing you, that's trying to make you a better Christian, that's trying to make you learn. If you feel like you go to church and you get out and you're like, that was a great message, but no difference in my life. I've been going here for 3 years and
nothing's changed, but I liked it.
I like how I feel.
I like how I feel.
I like how I feel. I like the coffee.
Free coffee. Yeah.
First thing I thought of. Yeah. And they do. They do that. That's why I always thought like it's so important to have coffee at our church. Maybe I'm getting to that age, but I think it's like, especially in the morning, you know, just like a little bit of coffee. A good sip of coffee. Hey, how are you? Before church gets started. I think it's like a great way. Yeah. Sorry to get distracted, but it's important to go to church.
Yeah. And one point I want to make about the importance of going to church and having this community, it's part of our design. Like you mentioned, we make up the church. Like, we are supposed to be part of a greater community and not just, like, people say, oh, it's just about me and God. Like, all I need is me and God.
Yeah. I'm very spiritual. I just mean my prayers, which is really popular. And
meditating. And
it's super important. It's like I said earlier. If you truly, or even like, let's say not family as an example, let's say as a girlfriend, you know, if you truly love this person, you'll do whatever it takes just to spend time with them. You know, you're not calling them is one thing. You know, hey, I'm just going to call you on the phone. It's like watching services online. I'm just going to call you. You want to be there.
See them on Instagram.
You want, exactly. I'm just going to like, you know, like
inspirational quote.
Yeah, it's the same thing. You can only do that for so long, and eventually be like, does this person even care about me?
No. Yeah.
He never wants to spend at least 2 hours with me, you know? And I think if you truly believe in God, like, God has done so much for me that I now at my age, even though it was probably like 2-3 years that I didn't commit to it. And I regret it because I missed out on so much, that you have to almost start back from nothing, and it sucks because you have to be like, dang, I have to, like, I can't believe I did this. And especially growing up in church is like, how come? But it's because also our age, we never go through problems.
Right.
And it isn't until we go through problems that we realize, like, who do I run to?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's famous quotes. You never realize you're in the good old days until you've left them. Yeah. The Office.
Yeah. The Office. Yeah, I see that all the time in like the 90s videos growing up in high school. Yeah.
But that's true. Like, and another point with by design, Adam, when God created Adam, he saw that, oh man, this is a great creation, but it's not good for him to be alone. So he created Eve to be his helper. And then when Jesus finally died, resurrected, and was going to ascend to heaven, he said, I'm going to send out my spirit to be a helper. We need help. We need support. We need one another. It's in our DNA to lean on one another. And having a solid Christian community can make all the difference in your walk, in your relationship with God.
Yeah, because going to church, you don't just see people your age. You see older, younger, and different generations, and you could be either a place where you're helping someone or you're getting advice from someone who has gone through that. And I think that's also the importance of a church, that it's a place that it's like that quote that they say, you are who you are with who you surround yourself with. Yeah. So if you never go to church, you never surround yourself with people who are also trying to be better, trying to be like Christ. And if you don't surround yourself with groups like that, you will get pulled away, and also you'll get bad advice. Like maybe they have good intentions. These are very nice people, but if you're not surrounded by people that are helping you grow in your faith, you're going to be stuck. You're always going to be this baby in Christianity. You're never going to grow and be a disciple. God doesn't just want you to just listen. He doesn't call you just to come and hear.
Sit on the seats.
Yeah. He has a purpose for you. Either is helping people, welcoming them in, handing them a cup of coffee. There's so much that the little kids, there's so much, and we can't do it just the pastor. It has a group of people. It's like when we went through the pandemic. As a church, we were able to provide so much services, but if it was just one person,
it wouldn't have happened.
And that's the power of the church. It's like when everything is easy, you almost don't really realize until you go through a hard time and you realize, oh my God, we're so lucky that we have a church that I can go to that can provide all these resources and guidance.
Yeah, people to lean on, people to give you advice. Yeah. What should I do? And I think another thing too is with being part of a Christian community with the church, you're able to also know what to believe in and what's like unbiblical. If you're just like by yourself in your room reading the Bible or looking at quotes online, you're like understanding your convictions, your biblical principles, they're going to be all out of whack because you don't have anything to no one to account for, like, okay, wait, this is actually out of context. I don't know. This is actually not what it actually says. And you don't have someone to guide you.
Yeah. It's like the classes that we give at church. It's important because, it's like me. If I'm an editor, I go on YouTube and try to learn how to edit. There's so many ways about it. Yeah. It's like, but if going into church, it's like, of course, like I was saying earlier, some churches don't provide that. So look for a church that has discipleship, that has Bible study and all that. Because like if you come to Christ, where do I begin? There's so many books in the Bible, and you need guidance. You need guidance in life.
It's not easy to alone. It's not meant to be a walk alone.
Yeah.
And with that, I want to add too, like if you walk away from the church and kind of just doing Christian life on your own, you're more prone to excuse your weakness, excuse your sin, and just be like, well, no one's watching. Or same thing with like budgeting, your diet. If you have no one to tell you, like, hey, how's the diet? Yeah. How's the diet going?
You went to Chick-fil-A again?
you have so many excuses to choose. No accountability.
Yeah.
And the whole point of a loving Christian community is you'll be able to build each other up. Like, hey man, how's it been going? How are you doing in the Word? What have been some hard prayers that you've prayed for? And what can I do to help you in this?
Yeah. Yeah, it's super important. It's like Galatians chapter 6, verse 1 through 2 says, "Dear brothers and sisters, if another believer is overcome by sin, you who are godly should gently and humbly help the person back onto the right path. And be careful not to fall into the same temptation. You yourself share each other's burdens, and in this way obey the law of Christ."
That's
And
good
in this
verse.
verse alone, there's so many stuff, One thing that it first starts as believers, we help each other overcome sin. Like Simon was saying, there's accountability. And you should also be gentle, so if a church is not gentle, not humble, and just pointing fingers, because we're not perfect. A church is a place where we're not the perfect people go. It's where we go because we want to become better, and we help each other. And the most important thing that I get from these two verses is we help carry each other's burden. And that's why God holds us as a church so important, that being part of a church and being a church is so important. It's because we help carry our problems. We help carry the load that we're all gonna face. It's like when we went through what my sister went through last year. The church helped us. The people that were there, the words of encouragement, the music that we would listen to on service, and just being there, helps us go through problems a lot easier.
And people's testimonies of, I went through this and God was faithful, just encourages us to trust God in those hard moments. Like, okay, God was able to do that for them. He can do it for me. He can do it for anyone. And you can't have that alone. You need people to share their testimony, share their experiences, sharing each other's burdens.
Yeah. So I think I think we've shared a good amount of the importance of going to church. More than anything, if you, like I keep saying, if you really do believe and call yourself a Christian, God gave it all. He gave his only son and died on the cross so you can be saved. And if that doesn't really touch you to be like, I need to at least spend 2 hours out of my week to dedicate it to God. Something about being in the church and listening to the music and listening to the word and praying in unity together changes lives. And really, you leave out of there feeling either motivated or you feel like, dang, I need to change this.
Convicted.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I need to change it.
Yeah.
And through that, we're able to be baptized.
Yeah.
Take part of the communion, pray for one another. And there's just so much beauty in community that can't be done. You can't baptize yourself in water. You can't take communion by yourself. You need the body. Yeah, there's so many beauty in Christian community that, like he said, if you feel like, man, I'm not receiving this in my church, or man, you're right, I haven't been going to church and I want to be part of something like this, go find a place where you can establish yourself in a good, healthy Christian community.
Yeah. But also, one thing that I would say is, if your church doesn't provide that, of course, go find that. But don't be church hopping either.
Right.
It's important you're never going to find, just like there's not a perfect person, there's not a perfect church.
Right.
And if you notice flaws, that means God is calling you to be either part to figure it out. It's not
be
to
part
criticize.
of the solution.
Yeah. Don't just criticize and be like, they don't have this, they don't have that. Maybe God's calling you to do that, or figure out a way to bring that to the church.
Yeah. Don't let that be a moment for you to say, okay, an excuse for me to leave, but rather, like you said, that's a good point. Maybe God is revealing this to me because he's calling me to help the church in this way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the last thing I just want to remind is God is relational. He calls us into relationship with him, but we're not only God's children and without siblings. We have brothers and sisters in Christ. We're part of a huge family, and he calls us into relation with one another. And in the New Testament, there's over 50 verses that say one another, talking about love one another, carry each other's burdens, encourage one another. There's so many one another commands in the New Testament that just goes to show life as a Christian is meant to be lived with one another, encouragement, love, prayer, and even if someone is doing something they're not supposed to, I forget the admonish and exhort them in loving and grace to be able to like help them out. Like, man, I noticed you just you haven't been the same. Like, what's wrong?
Yeah. And also remember, Jesus was never alone.
Mm-hmm.
So if Jesus can't be alone, what makes you think that you can be alone?
Right.
Yeah.
The 12 and the 3 close.
Mm-hmm.
And him in himself with God and the Spirit was in community, was in relation. So everyone needs somebody.
Yeah. You
don't forget that.
You can't do this world alone. You need God. We need each other. We need you. And we thank you for watching this video. And if you're looking for a church, in a description down below, we're a church here in East LA, and we'd love to have you there.
Yeah. Thank you guys. And we'll keep coming at it with new videos, new topics. So stay tuned, stay subscribed. Peace.